Hi, Dr. Sheehan, Behind Closed Doors. I want to tell you a story about a really interesting person I worked with and a really interesting discovery that I made with her that I have since been very useful with lots of other folks. This is a person who came in, was depressed, and had a story that involved her mom and issues with her mom and what her mom had inadvertently created was this person who was so sympathetic and empathic towards animals and children and basically any suffering living thing. She would take them in. She took in kids, she took in animals. She had a very strong sense of empathy. Now, when it comes to empathy, we think of that as a good thing, and shrinks obviously want to try to promote empathy. Empathy is that caring feeling for another suffering human being and the desire to help that human being. And that's a good thing most of the time. But sometimes it backfires, and in this particular person, it had backfired. And she was overwhelmed with all of the things that she was doing for other people, children, animal, other people in her family, and it was driving her into a state of depression. So between sessions, I go home one night and I'm watching my favorite show, Star Trek, and on one of the old Star Treks with Kirk, where they had landed on this planet with a bunch of folks who were empaths. And the test was, would these empaths actually heal the crew of the Enterprise so they could be saved? Well, in the process, I learned in the show these people were called empaths. And it struck me as I was watching the show that what I had been dealing with this person I'm talking about was pathological empathy. Her empathy was making her sick. And I had never thought of empathy as being something that could be pathological. But by God, it fit this situation. The next time she came in to see me, I reported that to her and let her know about watching Star Trek, and that I thought that what I had discovered was that the real central issue for her in life was that she was a pathological empath, that she made herself sick, taking care of other wounded living things. And this really struck her. And she liked the idea of my having created a special diagnosis just for her. And later, when I asked her if it was okay to tell her story, she was very encouraging about telling the story. And after we worked for a few more sessions, she was done and went on her way. Oh, maybe a year or so later, I'm working with another woman. And as I'm talking to her, she says to me that she was sent to me by another person that I had treated. And as a matter of fact, this other person had told her things about her treatment. Now, this woman worked at a hairstyling shop and did women's hair. And while my previous client had been in there, she had talked in front of everybody at the shop about how her shrink had given her a diagnosis, a special diagnosis just for her, the diagnosis of pathological empathy. So she had shared the story, and I want to share the story. After that, it really alerted me to this issue of pathological empathy, and I began to get eyes for it. And I began to see how many folks were actually pathological empaths. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things that shrinks have to watch out for, that sometimes you care so much and you get so deeply involved in the people that you work with that you suffer their pain. And they don't want you to suffer their pain, and you don't want to suffer their pain. So you learn ways to basically step out of that pathological empathy and dissociate in order to work, in order to, and by the way, the suicide rate among shrinks is fairly high, particularly amongst in psychiatry. So it's something we got to watch out for. I just wanted to tell you the story of pathological empathy and encourage you to watch out for something that maybe you never thought of. Thanks. See you next time.